Hello, it is time for a writer's workshop. Today we are going to continue talking about fictional narrative writing, and we're going to focus specifically on drafting our body paragraphs and how we can include transitions to help organize and create sentence fluency. To review, a narrative writing is really just writing a story. So it's a made up story and it has to contain some characters. We have to include a setting and, of course, the problem and solution. Every good story has to have a beginning, middle, and end. And then today we are going to focus a lot more on using time, order, transition words. And those words would include things like first, next, then, and finally as we go in and we start drafting our paragraphs. Now, when we use time order words, not only does this help create organization, it also is going to give us some sentence fluency. And sentence fluency, remember, is how it sounds to the reader as they read it. And when we use words like first, next, then, and finally, it really helps to create that fluency as the reader reads your writing. Now, we know there is a process for writing every time we go to do a real deal writing. And we've done a lot of pre-writing where we brainstormed ideas and we even created a graphic organizer to help put our ideas in order. And even yesterday, you started doing some drafting for your introduction paragraph. But today we're going to continue talking about drafting, and we're going to make it talk specifically about the body paragraph, where we really go into the beginning, middle, and end of the story. So drafting is when you take what you did in your pre-writing and you expand all those ideas to make complete sentences. So we're going to type out in complete sentences and even put it into a paragraph. So we need to make sure that we use our brainstorming notes and all of our graphic organizers, and you're going to take the information from those graphic organizers and put those into sentences. As you expand those ideas, we're looking for paragraphs. Now, they said 3 to 5 sentences. I'm going to tell you, I want 3 plus, which means 3 to 7 or 3 to 8 sentences for your paragraphs. As you're drafting, it's always a good idea too to kind of reread it as you're going and make some changes along the way. But don't worry, before we turn in our final draft, we're going to go back and revise and edit later. So when we look at a graphic organizer for our narratives, we know that we have to have an introduction for our narrative that has a character, setting, and situation. And then in the body, we want to talk about what happened first, next, and last. And we could talk about the setup, the mix-up, remember, where we say our problem, and then the fix-up is solution. And then, of course, at the very end, our last paragraph is going to be conclusion. But today, we're going to be focusing just on that body paragraph. So the setup, the mix-up, and the fix-up. So this is a story that we've already shared, and this was the Dino Scare exhibit. And this is a 3-paragraph essay that one of my friends wrote for me. And it talks about this experience that this kid had going to a museum and being scared when one of the fake dinosaurs roared at him. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I wanted to remind us that before my friend went in and wrote this whole essay, they created a graphic organizer to kind of jot all the ideas down. Now, see here, these ideas, these are not complete sentences. It just kind of says, okay, who are your characters? Me, mom, dad, and sister. And then even here, like the setup, we get to the museum and visit the mummy room and the hidden tomb. The mix-up, we go to the dinosaur exhibit and I scream and jump when a pretend dinosaur roars. And the fix-up, I'm embarrassed, but I end up laughing about it. So they kind of just jot some ideas down. But when we go to draft it, you're going to take all these ideas and we're going to expand and give more detail and make complete sentences. So this author went from here and created this beautiful essay with complete sentences and a lot of good detail. And that's what we do when we go to draft. Remember, we go from your ideas all the way to complete sentences in paragraph form. So in a narrative body paragraph, like I said, we want to, of course, have our setup, our mix-up, and our fix-up, and which is the beginning, middle, and end. And for each one of these, we want to explain and expand and give more detail. But look at what we have to have at the beginning of each part here. We need to have a transition word or a transition phrase, okay? And you're going to go, what's that transition? Well, let's take a look at what transitions are. Transition words are things like first, then, finally. And usually at the beginning of our story, when we talk about the setup, we're going to use these kind of transitions. So first, once, to begin, to start, one day. These are all great beginning transition words to start the beginning of your story. In the middle of your story, you can use things like next or soon, after that, all of a sudden. Oh man, these are great words to start your sentences when you get to the middle of your story. And then finally, at the end of your story, you want to use transition words like finally, at last, in the end. Okay, these are all great transition words for the end as well. So let's take a look. I have two examples here. I have an example of what someone wrote that has no transition words. And it says, get 2 slices of bread. Spread peanut butter on one slice. Spread jelly on the other slice. Put together and enjoy. Ew. All right. Well, not only is there not much sentence fluency, it doesn't really sound good to my ears. These are short sentences, but man, we don't have any transition words to help us know kind of how it goes from the beginning to the end of what we have to do. So I asked the person who wrote this, I said, can you go back and add some transition words here? And this is what they came up with. So they said, first, get 2 slices of bread. Next, spread peanut butter on one slice. Then, spread jelly on the other slice. Finally, put it together and enjoy. So just by adding these few transition time-ordered words, it took this blah-sounding paragraph, and now not only does it give it more organization, but the sentence fluency sounds way better as well. So going back to look at our Dino Scare exhibit example, remember this is our graphic organizer. They changed it into these into sentences, which made paragraphs. But look I highlighted some of these transition words that were used. For example, when we first arrived, and then they go on to talk about what happened first. Next, we went to the hidden tomb room. Okay, so I know that this was how it began. This what happens next. And then look down here. Then Mr. Smith led us into the dinosaur exhibit. Okay, so I know this happens next. And then here, moments later, my family started cracking up laughing. So this kind of tells me, hey, this is what happened after. So these transition words not only help to keep it organized, but they help to make it transition from one event to the next in an orderly way. So for your assignment today, what you're going to be doing is you are going to read this narrative and read it once all the way through, okay? After you read it all the way through, you're going to look over here to the side, and there are transition words that you are going to be dragging and dropping. And it says, drag and drop each transition below into the spot that best improves the flow of this narrative. So there might be a couple transitions that might seem like they would fit, but read it a couple times all the way through and then really think about which transition would fit best in each of these spots. And you simply just take it and you're going to drag whatever transition you want and you're going to put it right into the spot that you think it belongs. Now, of course, I'm not reading this all the way through. I'm just dragging and dropping, and I hope you don't do that. But drag and drop, read it once, twice, even 3 times through, and then find the right transition word that you think would fit into each of these spots. All right, friends, let's go be writers.